We had a victory today for the American people. And frankly, we also had a victory for common sense. Yeah. This is hurting our constituents. It's hurting the American people. At a time when the economy is barely eking along, wages aren't increasing, new jobs aren't available, and what are we doing? We're putting more cost and more inconvenience on the American people. It's time for us to say no. It's time to stop this before it causes any more damage to American families and American businesses. And so our message to the United States Senate is real simple. The American people don't want the government shut down, and they don't want Obamacare.
There is a faction on the far right of the Republican Party right now. It's not everybody, but it's a pretty big faction, who've convinced their leadership to threaten a government shutdown and potentially threaten to not raise the debt ceiling if they can't shut off the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Now think about this. They're not talking now about spending cuts. They're not talking about entitlement reform. They're not talking about any of that. Now they're talking about something that has nothing to do with the budget, right? They're actually willing to plunge America into default if we can't defund the Affordable Care Act.
I mean, people ask, how do you win? Well, the way you win is we keep making the case to the American people, and once we unify, first we've got to unify Republicans in the Senate. I hope we're going to do that this week. Once that happens, then you start moving red state Democrats over one at a time. And people say, well, none of them have gone over yet. Well, of course not. Republicans aren't unified yet. No Democrat's going to join us until Republicans are unified. And I'll tell you, look, if you are a red state Democrat from Arkansas, from Louisiana, and you start getting 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 calls from your constituents saying Obamacare is killing our jobs, it is hurting Americans, suddenly your calculus changes. And if we win the argument with the...
I'm sorry, sir. Would you lead a filibuster to that effect?
I will use any and all procedural means that are available. We don't know for sure how Harry Reid is going to tee this up.
Right.
But rest assured that I will use any and all procedural means we have in front of us. Well, let me say three things. Number one, I know for sure that you lose 100% of the battles that you begin by surrendering. And all these Republicans who say we can't win, if they want, these various pundits want us to surrender at the outset, that will make sure we can't win. Number two, I'll point out, right, in many ways, we are winning right now. Look, this vote today was historic, and 2 weeks ago people thought it would be impossible. It was a bipartisan vote in the House to defund Obamacare. You look at polling this week, the Wall Street Journal came out with it. For the first time in years, Republicans are leading on health care. And Neil, I'm going to suggest to you that is because we're standing up and fighting to defund Obamacare. Republicans are talking about how Obamacare is killing jobs, forcing people into part-time work, driving up premiums, causing people to lose their health insurance. But number three, I believe we're going to win this fight as we persuade the American people. And let me point to an example.
Real quick, Senator, I'm sorry.
Look at what happened with Syria. When Syria started, you had the president, you had leadership in both houses all saying we were going to attack Syria. The American people spoke up in overwhelming numbers and said, we don't want that. That's not in America's interest. And leaders from both parties listened. We need Harry Reid. We need Senate Democrats to listen to the American people. That's how we win this fight.
Ted Cruz, thank you very much.